Day 49. Is it not enough to make fool of myself talking to the camera, so that this journal must also become vulgarized? I wanted to bring my sublime pleasure into this 15-minute daily ritual. But what if it brings its anxiety and frustration into first my writing meditations and then through it into my whole life? I mean, in these 15 minutes, I feel anxious, and it's kind of stressful experience for me to talk to the camera every day with the awareness that I will upload it immediately on YouTube after the talk. But the rest of my day is the interplay of profound emotions and striking thoughts. What if it's gonna change the polarity? What if I become a fucking idiot, as those who are so popular on YouTube? A person who is seemingly smart, who speaks confidently about everything you ask him, who cuts all his ahms and ahs, and pretends to be a master of rhetoric, and he is for those 20 minutes of his weekly fame. Probably it's not sufficient to put it that way. It's kind of black and white thinking to say that we either play fools in public and remain sages inside, or we play sages in public and become fools anytime as we are left to ourselves. Schopenhauer has brilliant essays dedicated to this paradox. I guess I can read them in English to enrich my vocabulary and clarify my understanding. So after yesterday's talk, I thought a lot about how to put certain emotions into my speeches, and found nothing better than to get to their source. It's time now to shift the tone. I'm not real in these videos, not because of different emotions. I'm not real because I don't talk about philosophy. I'm afraid that I'm gonna be misunderstood. So I put it off and off and off. Misunderstood by whom? Nobody cares. So that was the beginning of my day, and I think that from now I'm gonna shift to different, let's say, dimension. Recently, I guess from the moment when I started recording these videos, I tried to find something that I would be interested in talking about. And at first it was just my daily routine, then I was talking about communication, I read books, I tried to explain to the potential audience what I was reading, how it works. I was talking about English speaking club, trying to develop certain topics. I was talking about English speaking community, and all of this seems to be kind of unreal. Why? Because when I speak, I'm anxious, and I see that there's incongruency between my thoughts and my speeches. Most of the time I don't care about things which I say here. It looks as if I'm putting shit here and save all beautiful and amazing stuff for myself. And in this example, when I wrote that there's a difference, so we either may be fools in public, as I'm pretty aware that I look like a fool. That's why probably people don't watch my videos. That's probably why people don't write comments, don't engage in communication with me. And that's fine, I understand it. And I, moreover, I understand how it works. So I see that this exercise, it helps me to structure my thoughts. It helps me to better understand myself. And it's not something that I do to attract the audience, even though I say quite often that I need some audience, I need people. I actually don't need anybody. That's the problem. And when I beg for your attention, I do something silly and stupid, something that my conscientiousness doesn't approve. And when I say that I'm bothered by all these emotions when I seek approval, when I try to pretend that I'm another person, that I care about this or that thing, I actually lose my passion. And to get back to what I was doing, I just need to talk about things which I'm really interested in. And these things probably they won't be understood by people, but I will understand them by myself. And that's exactly what I'm doing here. I'm just trying to understand myself. And instead of just pretending that I'm a public person, I want to, to teach you, to give you some pieces of advice, to help you improve your language, to do whatever. I just need to continue doing what I had been doing for many years before I started studying English. So I need to get back to philosophy. And this is actually how I can bring emotions into this talk. Because as soon as I'm talking about things which aren't important for me, I can't bring emotions, even though I may say, okay, now let's talk about wealth. Wealth is our topic for the speaking club. And now I need to discuss it. I need to understand better how it works. I need to understand, what makes people so anxious about wealth and why most people want to pursue wealth and material gains, whatever. And as for me, it's something totally irrelevant to my inner state of mind, to my inner worldview. So I'm not anxious. I don't need money. I like to study. I like to learn languages. I like to learn philosophy, psychology, myself, sciences, all sorts of things related to personal development and like writing, speaking, reading books, reading great books. And I know that this makes me passionate about what I'm doing. And when I talk about things which I don't understand, which I don't need, which I actually talk only because I need to exercise my language, I need to improve my language, I need to say something, I need to understand, how to explain these things. I think it's silly, and I need to get rid of all these talks. But now, of course, it's not going to be easy, because I was talking about these things for years. Basically, I tried to become kind of public person, uploading my videos on YouTube, uploading my journals on YouTube, trying to gain attention. And now I need to go back to the mental state where I was 4 years ago, where I was thinking about philosophy, when I was reading books and really studying philosophy myself. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to talk about philosophy all the time, even though I'm still going to continue to work on the speaking club, on the community. It's still kind of external goal which I want to attain. My most part of my attention is going to be dedicated to philosophy, and I'm going to read books about philosophy. I'm going to write about it more, and that's that's the goal. And first of all, I want to start from just telling something about my experience. No, today's morning was kind of unusual. I usually do exercises at morning, and today I started doing exercises as usual. But after 5 minutes, I realized like this idea of shifting to philosophy, it popped up to my mind, and I started thinking and even speaking aloud, trying to describe this idea. And there were an interesting story which I remembered, a story how I started actually studying philosophy. I was thinking, what is philosophy? To me, it's most of the time it's like thinking. So there's no big difference between thinking and philosophy. But I started asking myself, how did I get there? Like, what was my first experience? And I remember times like 2007, 2008, 2007, I read Castaneda. 2008, I read Aristotle. I was thinking, why did I read these people? Like, what was the purpose? I wanted to understand their minds. I wanted to study great characters. All people with whom I communicated back in the days, well, there were some good or bad people, doesn't matter. The point is that all of them were kind of average people, and I wanted to study like great thinkers, great warriors, great people. And reading books, it actually is helpful, since you see like characters from history which survived, even though they are dead. We don't have them in the real world, but they're like in books and in collective consciousness, they survived, and they're still alive. For example, Aristotle is more alive than anybody else in like who lives now, because in science, in philosophy, everybody knows who Aristotle was, and lots of people still read him. And this was my idea. Like, I decided, okay, I'm gonna read Aristotle. It was 2008, and I want to see who he was as a person, like how he thought, and why his logic and why his ideas are still popular. And I started reading Aristotle, and it was a book called Politics, Rhetoric, Poetics, Categories. I'm doing a bad job. I translating a Russian book into English, and it's like I don't know how many times Aristotle was translated in different languages. But anyway, so the idea is I started reading the book, and it was a fat book. It was a book with 1,200 pages, like something like this. And at the beginning, it wasn't interesting at all. I was thinking, this man is the most important person in science, in sciences, and in history. He was one of the best researchers and one of the best philosophers and thinkers. And I'm reading him, and it's like 2008, and I see that he thinks like I may write. Well, at that time I wasn't experienced in writing. I just started writing my journal few months earlier, and I was reading Aristotle, and I was thinking, man, I can write like him, and his style and his way of expressing his ideas is so silly, but like how that works, I I can understand it. Maybe it's just because of translation. Maybe it's because of I read him in translation, and it's not his original thoughts. And well, there was some truth in that, but more importantly, he lived like 2,000 years ago, 2,400 years ago. And of course, people thought in a different way back in these days, even though Aristotle is kind of modern thinker, and he thinks, like if you read his books, he thinks as a modern person. His logic and arguments are clear, but his style, his way of expression was kind of unusual for me at the beginning, and I didn't want to read them. It was boring. It was extremely boring just to get through all his thoughts, and he repeated himself over and over. But it was my decision to read the whole book before I started. And after I read a couple of 100 pages, I thought, well, probably I need to quit. But then I decided, well, no, I'm going to read the whole book. I'm going to see how it works. And if the whole book is like that, okay, I'll just check it and say, and make a kind of remark in my consciousness that this is like a silly person. And I continued reading Aristotle. And and at the middle of the book, I started figuring out something that I couldn't figure out before. And later, when I got to the end, I was amazed and surprised, and I was just blown up. I was, wow, this is Aristotle. This is how it works. And again, I wouldn't say that there was something special, but reading the whole book, now I may say, I may give you some explanation. I may create 5 tips and tricks or whatever, 5 main ideas which were posted in Aristotle's writings, and I might tell you like 5 minutes about for 5 minutes about these ideas, and you'll probably understand them. But reading the book, it's a complete. It's like you get through the whole process of thinking of one person, and you understand that this book was written. It's like he invested his whole life structuring all of this, making sense of his perceptions, making sense of his ideas and all his experience. And it's so beautiful. And it's like this system of thought, just going through it. I was amazed and I was surprised, and I decided to read philosophy and to study it more. Now I don't have a lot of time to continue. As I said, from now I'm going to shift to philosophy, and probably I'm going to reread all philosophers whom I read, like their main books whom I read before. I'm not going to use this exercise to talk about my memory and to recall everyday definitions which I learned for Speaking Club. I'll leave it to. Okay, I don't have time anymore. I need to say bye. Bye bye.